Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the T&A-Entertains channel. And it has been a while, but we are back with it, another tutorial about Hypixel Skyblock dungeons. And today's video we are going to talk about Mage Guide floor 1 to 5. So yeah, let's get right into it. And before we actually get into the video, I've seen a lot of guides on mage tutorials, but they never really explain how to play mage, only the gear. So in this tutorial you can expect gameplay as well. There's two different types of mages. You have RCM, which is very mana based, where you just hold right click and you use as much abilities as you can, and left click, where you focus on mana and crit damage and crit chance to deal most single target damage. So for the armor set, you want to get Wise Dragon Armor. You want to get them for as much stars as you can, so this chestplate for example, and you want the Wise Reforge. If you apply Wise to Wise Dragon Armor, it turns into very Wise Dragon Armor. If your budget is a little higher, you can also go for Necrotic Wise Dragon Armor, since this is the better version of Wise. You have to remember that you always need yourself loving on your chestplate, because the ability damage increase is really useful for mage. Then as your weapon, you want a Dreadlord sword. As you can see here, the Dreadlord sword only costs 5,000 coins, and its ability Dreadlord shoots a skull that deals damage. This sword does have a catacombs requirement, so you want to get a carry for the entrance floor, which people do for free, and then get one with the highest intelligence possible, so like this with the heroic Reforge. Before you get into it, you want to make sure to collect as many fairy souls as you want. In your quest log, you can see that there's a total of 228, and there's a total of 10 different places where you can collect your fairy souls. Then you want to go into Tia the Fairy, inside of the wilderness, next to the pond over there, and you want to hand them in for extra HP, some strength, some defense. It's overall really nice. But if your budget is a little higher, you can also go with a dungeonized aspect of the dragon. The stars don't really matter, but preferably get one that's dungeonized already. Mage is incredibly simple to play. The more intelligence you have, the more damage you deal. That's why it's important to get as much intelligence for right click mage, so you can spam more abilities and deal more damage. Reforges like Necrotic or Loving also help a lot with intelligence. This is why you should also get those. Now, let's get into some gameplay where I cover how you play the entrance and floor 1. So, what you want to do in the entrance and floor 1 of the dungeons is something called blood rushing. It's not really important because everybody in your team is a low kata level, so you're not going to get any quick runs anyways. But simply explained, you kill all the mobs in a room, and after you killed all the enemies in the room, you get a blessing, super boom, and a wither key. Wither keys you can use to open doors until at the end of opening your doors you get the blood key. The blood key is used to open this red door that opens the blood room. In this blood room, blood mobs spawn, but you don't want to kill them, only when they have all spawned you want to kill them. So that's why you're going to go out of blood and maybe clear some more rooms, or maybe get some secrets, because it's really important for later dungeons. There's a lot of mods like Bad Lion or Forge mods that will help you get the secrets. That's why I heavily advise you to use these, but learning them out of your head is way better. In dungeons, there's also something called puzzles. For example, tic-tac-toe. In this room, you play against an AI that's designed never to lose, and you gotta make sure that you don't lose either. If you tie tic-tac-toe, you complete the puzzle, and once you complete the puzzle, the wall will drop and you can open the chest. A quick disclaimer, you will not be able to deal as much damage as I am right now dealing, because this is on my Kata32 account, and when you start off, you will deal a little less damage. Still, you should be able to 1 or 2 shot everything, and you can outrange them as well with the Dreadlord sword. Here, you can see a Lost Adventurer. This is one of many mini bosses in the game. In higher floors, you have to watch out for these, but we will talk about that later. Let's kill it. And as I said, I was going to also explain how to play mage in this video, so here we go with tip number 1. When you're playing with the Dreadlord sword, you want to look at the ground most of the time. So, when you block, it shoots. When you're holding right click in the air, it doesn't continue shooting, but when you look at the ground, it keeps on shooting like this. This is why when you're clearing and you have the EHP to not die to any mobs, you should always look at the ground like this. As you can see here, the boss says, "That will be enough for now." This dialogue shows you that you can clear blood because all the mobs have spawned. Now, when you clear blood, you want to use one very useful tactic. You go up here, because the mobs can't hit you here, and you want to shoot down and kill all of the blood mobs, like that. Fairly easy, and that is it for the entrance. Now, floor 1 is a little bit harder than the entrance floor. Not because of the mobs, not because of the watcher, but because of the boss fight. Clearing the floor 1 blood room is exactly the same as for the entrance floor. You sit here and you kill the blood mobs, just like that. But instead of the run ending, the portal will lit. When you go through the portal, you see Bonzo over here. This boss had 250k HP, and it could be a little difficult to take him out, but it's not that difficult. I'll show you how. You just want to run behind him and throw your heads at him, and then every once in a while kill those undead mobs. They can do a lot of damage, and you want to get rid of them as soon as possible. In this phase, I also recommend you use your lightning ability. You do this by pressing Q with a dungeon orb in your inventory, like that one. This will summon lightning and it will kill everything. That's really all you have to do for the floor 1 boss fight, and there's a drop in the floor 1 boss fight that's necessary for the next 2 floors. Obviously, the weapon I'm talking about is the Bonzo staff. This time you want to make sure that you get a Bonzo staff that is at least 3 or 4 stars or higher, preferably 5 stars, of course, like this one. The Bonzo staff, it's way more expensive than the Dreadlord sword, but its DPS output is insane. If we test it, if you just press normally with the Dreadlord sword, you can only shoot a few times a second, but the Bonzo staff, you can hold right click and it shoots out 10 of these clown balls a second. This makes the DPS output way higher than the Dreadlord sword, even though they both have similar ability damage. Now, on the Bonzo staff, you don't need ultimate wise 5. I would recommend you buying at least 1 or 2, because this really only is 250,000 coins and it's so helpful to not run out of mana. Now, floor 2 is at least 5 times more difficult than floor 1. though it's not impossible with your current gear. But if you feel like you're too squishy, you should upgrade to a stone chestplate. Now, this chestplate is 80,000 coins, and inside of dungeons it gives 400 defense without a single star. This is way better than your dragon chestplate once you reforge it to, again, loving. I would also recommend you get dark goggles. Dark goggles are 80k, and the ability damage they give is really good. Only do this if you have enough mana to spam your ability, because you will lose out on the full set bonus of the Wise Dragon Armor, Wise Blood. This makes abilities cost only 66% of their normal ability cost, and it's really helpful for early game dungeons, so if you do not have enough mana, don't worry, you can just still use the full set. Clearing in floor 2 is very similar to clearing in floor 1 and the entrance and floor 4. Clearing for mage never really changes, but all you have to do still is do the blood rush. The Bonzo staff's attack does have knockback, as you can see, so you want to make sure that you always outrange the thing that you're firing at. So like this. If they come too close, you just want to walk away and then keep on outraging them. You can also walk backwards, so you still outspeed them and they cannot kill you. Floor 2 and 3 are really nothing special. The boss fights are really simple, because all you have to do is hold right click and CPS the opponents. Although there is one thing that you have to keep in mind in the floor 2 boss fight. Let's get into tip number 3. Because in the floor 2 boss fight you have to make sure that you always kill the priest first. The priest spawns over here in this pink thing, and why do you want to kill it first? Well, that is because this thing can heal and revive its teammates. And after you killed all of them, the mage, the archer, the warrior and the archer, you will have Scarf spawn. As a mage, you probably want to call that you are going to kill Scarf. You can say, you focus the priest, for example. So that will tell your teammates that you got Scarf and that they can focus the priest. And after the priest is killed, the Scarf boss fight is really easy. You just hold down right click and you dodge its attacks. I just keep on walking. And then, now Scarf is dead, you finish the dungeon. Floor 3 is really easy, and you just have to kill the guardians and then the big guardian. Now, floor 4 and 5 are gonna be even more difficult than this, so you should really focus. Before I forget, you want to make sure that you get an epic sheep once you have enough coins for this. You can do this as early as possible, and you can get either a Spooky Cupcake or Textbook. The Spooky Cupcake is really good for clearing because it gives a little bit of extra speed, and preferably you would use the Textbook if you do not have enough mana. This pairs really well with the Wither Goggles because it gives you double mana on your sheep. Now, before we go to the next floors, I have to explain you some more stuff about clearing. Clearing is really slow if you only keep distance from enemies, but if you get closer up, it will always be faster. When you're closer up, you will lose a lot of HP, and that's why you want to use a zombie sword. I have an ordered zombie sword here, but you can buy a florid or whatever tier you want. This will heal you to full HP with just a little bit of a cooldown on it. Of course, you also need an AOTE, or in my case an AOTV, because this is just great for clearing. Another very useful tip for clearing is the Rogue Sword. The Rogue Sword gives speed when you use the ability. So, before the dungeon is gonna start, you want to spam the most Rogue Sword as you can, because then you have a lot of speed and clearing is way faster. Now, when you get into floor 4 and 5 with the Bonzo staff, you'll realize that it's just not good enough. So we are going to upgrade to a new weapon. This weapon is called the Spirit Scepter. Spirit Scepter is only 13.2 million coins, and it's ridiculous. It deals way more damage than the Bonzo staff, and if you can get a good deal with ultimate wise 4 or above like this one, you should get it. Now, what's really good about the Spirit Scepter is that it's just an explosion instead of this knockback attack you have with the Bonzo staff. You also want to get this new item that got added with the Crystal Hollows update. To be exact, a scroll, a sapphire scroll. There are only 500,000 coins, and you can apply these in an anvil to gain +5 mana when using your right click item ability. So every time you shoot, you gain 5 mana. Now, this doesn't sound like a lot, but you can see that you shoot out so many projectiles that it really does stack. Now, there's one really important thing that you have to know. For the floor 4 boss fight, you as a mage will need to spam your right click ability and kill all the spirit mobs. You want to make sure that there's someone on your team that's archer, preferably with a Juju shortbow. You will tell him to kill the spirit bear, and while he does that, you make sure that he doesn't die by using the right click ability to kill all the mobs around him or her. Now, floor 5 is where it gets really difficult. In floor 5 you also get the bedrock chest added when you reach S+. This is why getting secrets and learning secret routing is 10 times more important than in floor 4. This is why I highly recommend that if you haven't done it yet, you get either a mod or you learn it from a YouTube tutorial. Now, that's not the only thing you need for floor 5. You have to make sure that you get 3/4 necrotic on your helmet, leggings and boots, and then loving on your chestplate. You will need all of the extra mana and the ability damage because, yeah, you just have to spend 10 times more, and the ability of the Spirit Scepter is also almost 3 times as mana cost of the Bonzo staff. Now, the last thing that's absolutely necessary for this floor is this pet, the legendary sheep. Preferably you search through the auction house for one that's higher leveled. For example, this level 72 one for 4.3 mil. It also has a textbook, and as you can see, its last perk that you do not have on the epic sheep is Dungeon Wizards. This perk increases your mana in dungeons up to 25%. This is like the best thing you can get for this price, and you should definitely buy this. If you have a higher budget, you can also buy a helmet. These cost a little more, but they are still affordable after a Diana Mayor. I do not recommend this item because the 25 mana is it's awesome. You really do need it, and you should get it. But if you hate the knockback, you can also go with the turtle helmet. Floor 5 boss fight is actually really easy. All there is to it is that you follow your teammates and you kill every single one of the livids. Even though you only have to kill one, you shouldn't try to focus on one, but just AoE damage all of them, and after you killed the right livid, you complete the floor. Now, these livids deal a lot of damage because the potions they throw deal true damage. This means that they shred through your defense, and you should really watch out for those. What I recommend you get if you can survive is a loving super heavy chestplate. Loving because it's obviously the best reforged for mage, and super heavy chestplate because it gives a lot of defense. You should buy a legendary one with 5 stars. They are normally around 450 to 750,000 coins on the auction house, and it's really helpful if you cannot survive floor 5. Now, in one of our next videos, we will talk about floor 6, 7 and master mode. With the spirit scepter you can do floor 6, but the armor will be heavily outdated, so I do not recommend you do floor 6 with the gear and wait for part 2 to be online. That's it for me today. This was a bit of a longer video. I hope the timestamps did actually help. And if you like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me and TJ Dev. But that's me, Tomato, on the T&A Entertainment channel, and have a great day.